Here we go.
Oh. Hi friends. All right, what do you guys think about ironing? You either love it or you hate it, or maybe there's phases in your life where you're very deeply satisfied by it and other phases where you're like, I seriously cannot be bothered. Well, I iron all the time for my handmade linen clothing business, just because sewing clothes requires so much ironing to get really nice, clean seams and finishes. But also I iron a lot because I'm working with linen, which is a fabric that wrinkles super easily. If you've ever worked with linen before, you know that wrinkles are part of its charm. It's what makes it look so rich and textured. But when I'm trying to sew with it, I have to get it really flat. And it does get really flat when I iron it. So that's good. The wrinkles do come out when you need them to. Growing up, I always had just like the family iron, you know, that people were using on all sorts of different projects. It was pretty crappy, but no one really cared too much. And then when I got to my sewing practice of actually wanting to make clothes that looked good, I started to get frustrated with having such a crappy iron. Now, a crappy iron is great to start with. It's really all you need in the early stages of sewing clothing. But it's just when you get to sewing more clothing, or you know, you're taking it to the next level, that's when you might be thinking about what kind of iron to use. So in the first year of creating garments for other people, I did my research on what iron would be best for what I do, and I landed on this bad boy right here. It is the Chi Titanium Ceramic Iron. So I want to give you a quick 30-second intro into this iron because I think it's a great one for if you're ready to level up to sort of like a good iron for your sewing practice. But then I want to show you what I'm so excited for. Something that solved a major ironing problem of mine. This thing wasn't cutting it all the way for what I needed, and I got a thing. So hang on, I'll show you in just 1 second. First, let me just say this iron is not being retired. It has treated me so well. It has so many functions that I like about it. They're not sponsoring this video by any means, but this thing gets super hot. I find that the sole plate is very non-stick, being ceramic. It holds a lot of water for steaming. I've been using it for about 4 years and the steam still works fantastically. And it goes all the way up to a linen setting, but it has all sorts of different temperatures on here. And then there's also like this steam function where I can turn the steam all the way up and I just get like constant steam. And that is really nice for when I've been ironing like big yardages of fabric and I don't want to keep pressing that steam button on repeat.
I think a key feature that sold me on this iron was that it has a 30-minute auto shut-off, which just means that after 30 minutes of inactivity, it will stop producing heat and basically kind of shut off. And that's super important when you're sewing clothes because some of the modern irons have like a 5-minute auto shut off, and sometimes just in between sewing steps, the iron shuts off and then it's already cold by the time you go to use it again. And so I like having that longer range. It gives you plenty of time to use it while it's still on and hot. And also it does auto shut off, which is nice safety precaution in case you often forget and leave your iron on when you leave the room.
I've been using this iron for kind of 2 categories of tasks. One is while I'm sewing a garment, you know, and I need to press seams, this iron is there for me all the time. I've also been using it though to iron my big yardage of fabric. So before you sew any garment or really anything you're going to wash again later, it's such good, important practice to pre-wash and dry the fabric before you sew your clothing or your quilt or what have you. That way it pre-shrinks it. So After I pre-wash and dry all of my fabric, I bring it out here on my table. You've probably seen in several of my previous YouTube videos where I'm just having an ironing marathon. And because I'm using a lot of fabric at once, sometimes up to 20 to 30 yards of linen, that I've pre-washed, I've dried, and now it's wrinkly, which is so frustrating because when it comes to me from the manufacturer, it's like pristine, crisp, flat. But because I have to pre-wash and dry it to shrink it up, it's wrinkly again. So I get it out here on my table and spread it out, and it's kind of clunky and hunky, and then I use my regular Chi iron to iron maybe 20 to 30 yards all at once, and it's a lot of arm motion and reaching and folding the fabric and reaching and a lot of steam coming up at my face. And while there is something slightly therapeutic to that process, I've been starting to feel after about 4 years of doing that it is a little bit tedious and time consuming and not necessarily the wisest way to be spending my day doing tons and tons of ironing or spending my skill set or all of the things. Now I think for just like a one-off at-home sewing project, I think this iron or just any at-home iron is absolutely perfect. But for my needs, I wanted something that goes bigger and faster and more fun. So I scoured the internet like a couple years ago and found these vintage, they're called wranglers. Was that correct? What are they called? Mangles, that's what it is. I had seen these things called mangles online, and this is what like housewives in the 50s, I think, would use to iron out all of the house linens. And they I think became a little bit outdated, as did the 1950s situation, but I wanted one. They were all retro though, and I wasn't sure like, will it work if I get it? They're kind of expensive and bulky and heavy and like rusty, all the ones I saw online, and lo and behold, I just gave it a couple years, put it on the back burner. I came back to the topic, I researched it this year, and I found that a brand called Miele, don't know how to say that, Miele, I think it's German. They make something called a rotary iron. I think it's called a rotary iron. I'm calling it an ironing machine because it just feels big and powerful. And it's so beautiful. It's modern looking, which isn't a super big requirement. I love retro looking things, but it at least like it's new enough in the world to not be rusty, which is good for my nice clean fabrics going into it. And this machine, you can just feed your yardage of fabric in and it will just iron it, baby. It looks so amazing. But guess what the price tag was? Like over $2,000. And if you want the one with steam, it's like over $3,000. And I couldn't fully justify that being a good investment in my life necessarily, in the business. That's a lot of money. But I really wanted it. So there was something in the air that was telling me, maybe now's the time. I look on eBay, I find one in New York that I think it was listed at like $600 or best offer. And I did some good old fashioned eBay negotiating, got it down to about like $400-ish, which is epic. I literally made this purchase like right around New Year's, and it felt like, yes, this is the thing I am celebrating the end of my year with, going into 2025 with. But they had to ship me this iron, right? And luckily it's in New York, I'm in Pennsylvania, but it's this massive 83-pound machine. So the seller unfortunately did not package it very well at all. It got dropped off at my doorstep. We get it inside and I open it, and there was one piece that had broken off, but luckily it wasn't like an electrical piece or anything, and I just got some good epoxy and put it back together over the weekend. I'm so excited to show it to you. I did already try it one time before filming this video, and I'm not going to tell you how well it worked. I'm just going to let the suspense trickle and then let you see for yourself if it's good or if it's a dud. Here we go. All right, let me take you the tour of this bad boy. So I'll show you real quick. This is the part that broke and I just glued it back together. It doesn't look pretty, but I don't give a crap. So another thing about it from it being used was that this roller cover right here has been pretty discolored after years of getting really hot, just like any older ironing board cover would. But I just took it off and washed it with really hot water, and I think it came out looking pretty good. It got a nice refresh. I dusted the whole thing down, and basically what this thing does is this piece up top is what heats it, and then the fabric is going to feed in and through. It'll lay down here in this bottom plate, and there are several different temperature settings. So I'm going to be using the hottest, which is cottons, and there are different speed settings. So I am gonna start it off pretty slow because I'm still getting used to it. But I will say even the slow speed is a little bit fast. All right, it's hard for me to angle my camera so you can see me doing the whole machine in one shot. But basically, when I turn it on and heat it up and sit down, I'm going to be pressing that foot pedal at the bottom, and that is what's going to start the roller turning. All right, let's go ahead and give it a try. I've let it warm up for about a few minutes here. I can feel the heat really radiating off of it, so I think it's about ready. I have it on the hottest setting and kind of almost a slower speed, and I'm gonna give it a shot ironing this real like balled up, wrinkly, I think it's about 3 yards of my 100% linen. This has been plant dyed with Kutch to be a nice dusty pink color. It's like a real nice earthy, calming pink. You can find this fabric on my website for sale if you're interested. It's nice and opaque, so it's not see-through for any clothing or garments, but it's just that perfect medium weight, pre-softened using wind, which is amazing. But yeah, while I think linen is so beautiful in its natural wrinkly state, I want to get it super flat so that I can start sewing some beautiful garments with it. I read a couple of tips ahead of time when I bought the machine, and one of them was that it works much better when your fabric is a little bit damp. Now, there is a super expensive version of this machine that has like a built-in steam function, and there's like a whole water tank down below. But you know, that's not what was on eBay for me, was it? No. So I have the one without steam, which just means that I'm going to probably want to either take the fabric out of the dryer when it's still like 90% of the way dry, not totally dry, a little bit of dampness, and I could run it right directly into the iron afterwards. Or if it's already dry, I'm just going to come in with my spray bottle and just give it all a really quick spray before I send it through. And then the second thing to take note of is that, of course, you know, most fabrics are going to be wider than the width of the roller. So I'm probably, you know, I think I'm going to be sending it through 2 times, once for this side of the fabric and once for the other side of the fabric. I think I could probably send it through once if I was okay with having like a center fold crease, but you know, don't really want that. So let me mist it ahead of time real quick because I kind of want to have both hands free. All right, gonna sort of start to tuck it under. Get it nice and lined up. I think the most difficult part is gonna be my edges over here that kind of start to curl in on me. But let's see how we do. Pressing the foot pedal down. And here we go. All the way through. Are you ready for the big reveal? So it folds it real nicely under here. Just automatically it did that. So that's super organized. It's not falling down onto the floor and getting dirty. But let me show you just how good that looks. Okay, so here's the side that is still wrinkly. I haven't set it through yet. And then here's the side that just went through. It looks absolutely amazing. That's even better than I would probably do with my regular handheld iron. Again, here's the wrinkly side. Here's my iron side. It went so well. All right, I filmed myself ironing the other side of that fabric, but my camera battery died without telling me. So I already ironed it, and while it was still nice and pressed, I went ahead and got it on my fabric bolt. I get my bolt cardboard from just Joann's or any fabric store where they have extras. They're usually just throwing them away, and you can ask to take them home. Life hack. And that's how I organize my bigger yardages of my linen fabric. All right, next I'm gonna send through 3 yards of my indigo blue. I outsourced my indigo dyeing to another small business in Pennsylvania. And when they send it back to me, they basically have it dried and just folded, but they don't iron it. So I always like to go through it before I'm sewing any garment or sending off my yardage to my DIY customers. I'm interested to see how long it takes me to iron the 3 yards. So I'm going to set a stopwatch, and I'm going to tell you how long it takes to get all the way through the ironing machine, even set to its slowest setting. All right, stopwatch is starting now. I gotta find the top. Okay. Uh-oh. I think I might have gotten a crease in there. Things didn't go on super straight. Let's see. Aww. Yeah, okay. So I did get a crease because it didn't go in super straight, but otherwise, pretty freaking beautiful. Let me run through the other side while I still got my stopwatch on. All right, focus, focus, focus. All right, I'd say it took me about 3.5 minutes to iron this 59-inch wide linen fabric, which isn't bad, especially because I got to just sit here while doing it. I do have to focus kind of hard on making sure it's all lined up and stretched out sort of properly so that there's no creases as it goes through. I think over time I'll probably get better at it. This was only like my 2nd time trying it. So I'm sure by like my 10th try I'll be an old pro at this thing, do it in my sleep. For now, it is doing just fine. I gotta go put this over on a fabric bolt real quick before it wrinkles again. All right, to finish us off for the day, I'm gonna go ahead and run through, I think this is about 6 yards, all in one bundle, and I'm gonna run it through the machine, get it on the bolt, and then we'll wrap up for the day. I'm so excited for this new ironing machine. What a fun way to start the year. I like to say in a lot of my videos, this isn't something that you need necessarily. That's not something I necessarily needed. You are enough. I am enough. I have enough. You have enough. But every once in a while, there's just something that tickles you in the butt and says, hey, this would be pretty cool. This would be a pretty good quality of life upgrade. And I think it is proving to be such, saving me so much time with ironing. And again, if you're just looking for a good iron for sewing projects, I really do recommend the Chi titanium ceramic iron. It's served me well for the last 4 years, and I'm going to continue to use that iron during all of my sewing projects, like in between steps for pressing seams and everything like that. So fantastic iron. If you want to go big, check out this bad boy. If you've got big money, you just buy it brand new. If not, head over to eBay, see if you can find anything. I can't guarantee you will. I might have grabbed the best deal out there, guys. All right, wish me luck on ironing my next bundle here.